Hey everybody, welcome to the Crohn's Fitness Food Podcast, dedicated to raising awareness, sharing IBD stories, and offering support for those with Crohn's and colitis. Together, we can share knowledge, experiences, and help show the world the many faces of IBD. Well, hi everyone. Thank you for joining me today for another episode of the Crohn's Fitness Food Podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Gish, Crohn's warrior since 2006 and lifelong fitness fanatic. My guest today is Elizabeth Alvarez, also known as the Dancing Crohnie. Elizabeth was diagnosed with Crohn's disease in 2011 at the age of 21. Since then, she's described her journey as one wild ride trying to attain remission. She's been on numerous medications, including Remicade, Entyvio, Humira, Stelara, Prednisone, Dilaudid, Valium, and many others, and is now pairing conventional medicine with non-conventional treatments and organic lifestyle changes. Thank you so much for joining me today, Elizabeth, and welcome to the show.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here and excited for you to share your story. So, your Crohn's disease and your first flare, speaking of your story, came at probably one of the most inopportune times imaginable as I was reading through on your blog. So why don't you start by sharing your Crohn's story, when you had your first flare, and how your diagnosis came about?
Sure, of course. So I was diagnosed at 21. I was a senior in college. And I got I'm one of the lucky ones because I've heard horror stories that people take years to get a diagnosis. I was diagnosed very quickly, thankfully. But I started to feel symptoms my senior year of college. I started to get, the typical diarrhea, abdominal cramping. I was really freaked out when I first saw blood in the toilet. I had a thought, I think like most women do, like, oh, I got my period. That's weird. And then you quickly realize like, oh, wait a minute, that's not what that is. And I had never been sick a day in my life. So I was kind of in denial, and I was never one to visit doctors. I never, had any physical ailments growing up. And I was studying classical dance. I was getting my bachelor's in fine arts with a focus in modern dance. And I was just an athlete my whole life. So I really was kind of dealing with these symptoms at 21 years of age quietly until after graduation, it got really severe. And by the time I got home, I remember telling my mom, like, Mom, there's something wrong with me. I don't know what's going on. And pretty quickly, things just kind of turned south. And I lost about 40 pounds.
Wow.
I got erythema nodosum. My ankles were the size of pineapples. I had excruciating abdominal pain. I was constantly bleeding, constantly running to the bathroom with diarrhea. I was vomiting, and I just became very lethargic. I had no energy. It was hard for me to just get up from bed and go use the restroom. And it was pretty insane. And, immediately I was taken to a gastroenterologist. They did a colonoscopy, and right then and there, I was told that I had Crohn's. And I guess, of course, I can tell I could spend hours telling my story, but fast forward, I was diagnosed there at 21, and I was very stubborn. And I had these plans, as we all do. We have a vision for our life. We have these goals. And suddenly I had this diagnosis that was in the way of me becoming a professional dancer. And my goal was to move to New York City and dance classically and, professionally. So, despite the diagnosis, despite doctors telling me that I really needed to take it easy, as a stubborn 21-year-old, I went off to New York. And despite even my parents telling me that, this isn't a good idea, we're scared for your health, but I was like, no, I'm fine. I was put on Remicade, and I was pretty confident that everything was going to be fine. And, long story short, I was in New York, living there for 4 years. I had, by the grace of God, landed a contract with the Metropolitan Opera in Lincoln Center, and I was dancing professionally And things, just took a quick turn for the worst. And I lasted 4 years, which I think, in my opinion, is pretty long.
Yeah,
But
it's amazing.
by the 4th year, yeah, it was insane. I don't know how I did it. Every day I was waking up, I was vomiting, I was anemic, I was iron deficient, I was just bleeding all the time. And it was just a really, really difficult 4 years. And again, on my 4th year, where I hit a wall was I was in the middle of a show in in, in the opera, and I was backstage, and I was about to go on stage, and I got hit with a flare, and it was just like boom, it just hit me, just the abdominal pain, and I was curled up literally backstage. I mean, you can just imagine being in the wings, the lights are on, the show's going, and I have like a minute, and my cue is to go on stage. And I remember being keeled over, and I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe this is happening to me right now. And I remember my castmates were like, are you okay, Elizabeth? What's wrong? And I'm like, I couldn't even talk, because as we all know, the abdominal, the cramping and then the urgency is just so intense sometimes that all you can do is just be keeled over and just breathe. And I was just trying to mentally say, okay, this is going to pass. This is going to pass.
Now, did your fellow dancers know that you had Crohn's this whole time?
No, I did not tell anybody that I had Crohn's. When I was hired, I didn't say anything. And yeah, my peers didn't know. And I just kept saying, oh, I have a bad stomach ache. There's something wrong with my stomach. And they're like, okay, and they were so helpful, so supportive. And somehow I went on stage, and I guess with the adrenaline and just, the sheer, how should I say, pressure of, not having
just that grit,
a bowel movement on stage. Yeah. I mean, I got through it, and then I got off stage, and it was like I ran to the dressing room and just, exploded. And I was vomiting. As we all know, it comes out both ways sometimes. And it was terrible. And that was my breaking point. I would fought for 4 years, just to get to rehearsal on time and just to make it through rehearsals. And then when that happened in the middle of the show, I was like, okay, I need to, take this seriously and stop dancing and focus on healing, because if I keep going like this, I don't know how much longer, it was insane. So that's pretty much my story. And I guess my worst flare, and where it really became real that I needed to get better.
Well, you mentioned in your blog that 2015 was a turning point for you in the disease. Was that moment on stage, is that what triggered that turning point?
Yeah, that happened in 2014. And immediately after, I saw my gastroenterologist. I believe we did a colonoscopy, and he said, he just told me straight. He's like, look, you have a severe case of Crohn's. You're very, very inflamed. I mean, I've had so many colonoscopies, so I can't remember if this was the time where he couldn't even do the whole he didn't want to go and finish the entire colonoscopy because I was so
inflamed.
Swollen,
wow,
and inflamed. Yeah, that he said he would perforate. He was scared to perforate my colon. And he was just, and so then I just said straight up, I was like, look, should I be dancing? Is this stupid? And he goes, look, honestly, if you're able, I would not suggest you to continue dancing at the moment, because your health is really severe, and this could get out of control really bad, really quick. And so that was it. I literally left my doctor's office and called my boss right then and there. And I told them, and I said, look, I have Crohn's disease. It's very severe, and my doctor is advising me not to dance. I'm really sorry, but I just can't continue with the season. And thank God he was so supportive, and he was like, look, your health is everything, get healthy. And when you get healthy, you always have a place here.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I mean, they were so supportive, and that just took such a weight off of my shoulders. And then that was it. That was in 2014. I moved home back to Miami. And I just focused. I was determined. I was like, I need to get better so I can get back to dancing. Little did I know it would take so long. I thought maybe a year. It took about 4. We're now now it's 2019 is now when I'm first starting to, I'm able to dance again, and I'm starting to train.
So tell me,
it took a little bit, but yeah, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Tell me about that process, because you talked about going from being on medications, and then at one point in your blog, you mentioned you tried to go medication free, but now you're finding a balance between the two. So tell me about that process of going through that and then coming to the point where you're at now.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I moved home in 2014, again, like I said, I was just focused on getting better. And for me, throughout those 4 years of me just coasting, I was just relying on conventional medicine. I was just listening to what my gastroenterologist was telling me. And that was, look, we're going to put you on a biologic. You have an autoimmune disease. It is not curable. But with these medications, you will be able to live a normal life. That's what I was told. And as a patient, and a first time patient, might I add, when your doctor tells you something, you listen and you trust them, right? And you don't think of getting on Google and doing your own research, because I'm like, he's a professional and I'm going to listen to what he says. And I remember when I was first diagnosed, I said, okay, how about diet? Should I be, what do I need to eat or what do I need to not eat? And I will never forget this. He said, diet has nothing to do with Crohn's disease. It's not going to affect anything. Right. It's crazy, right? It still blows my mind.
And I kind of laugh because my doctor said the exact same thing. Because I asked, just like you, I asked the very same question, and I got the same response of, it doesn't matter what you eat, just take this drug and that's what you need to do.
Yes. And it is so, oh my gosh, again, I am not a medical professional. I am just a Crohn's patient and a Crohn's warrior. Yes. But I urge everyone listening who has any type of inflammatory bowel disease, diet is key.
Yes.
I don't care. You don't need a medical certification to understand this. And I am so, I don't want to say saddened, but I guess I just wish that I would have done my own research from the beginning. And again, I can't fault myself because, like I mentioned, when you see a professional, medical doctor, you're going to trust them. And that's what I did. And for 4 years, I trusted the conventional medical community, and I was put on biologics. And I was not changing my diet because I was literally told by my doctor that diet had nothing to do with this. This was an autoimmune condition and that it was not curable and diet does not affect it. And so it was in 2015 that I was so fed up with my condition. I was literally on a hamster wheel. I was jumping from biologic to biologic. I was first put on mesothalamine.
Oh yeah, I was too. That's like the starter drug, mesalamine.
Yes. They put me on that. I couldn't even swallow the pill. I would swallow it and just vomit it up within a minute. And it just did nothing for me. And then I was put on Remicade. I was on Remicade for about 1.5 to 2 years. And in those 2 years, I was anemic. I was iron deficient. I was bleeding. I was in constant pain. I was constantly vomiting. And I was always in I would say a moderate flare forever and ever. And then I would have at least 2 major severe flares where I would be landed in the hospital for about a week. And so finally, after landing in the hospital, my doctor's like, okay, Remicade's not working. Let's put you on Entyvio. Did Entyvio, same case. From Entyvio, I went on to Humira. Same thing. And then from Humira, I was put on Stelara. And so I just was on this hamster wheel. I grew frustrated. And I finally said, okay, I opened up my laptop and I was like, there has to be another way. Like, this is insane. Like, I know my body can heal. I know that there's hope. And I know that there is another solution. And that's when things started to change for me, because I started to research, I started to read, I started to buy books, I started to learn about diet. And then my father, who was also just as frustrated as I was, said, look, I came in touch with a naturopathic medical doctor. I want you to meet him. And he actually ended up being a family friend. And they were out to dinner one night, and I guess I had come up in conversation, and, oh, my daughter has Crohn's and it's been horrific. And, she's been hospitalized countless of times, this and that. And then, who turned out to be my naturopathic doctor, his name is Dr. Springer. He was like, look, send her my way. She can get better. Send her my way. And so I went up and I visited with him, and that's when things changed, because he educated me about diet. He educated me about the importance of probiotics, about emotional and mental healing, about essential oils, about electromagnetic frequency therapy. He just educated me about my body. And
now, did you start those kind of one at a time, or did you kind of start doing all these different changes with oils and EMF and diet and everything he was recommending? Did you start doing those all at once? How did that evolve as he worked with you?
It was pretty much, well, I still see him to this day. I consider him like my main doctor. And again, not to bash the conventional medical community, like my gastroenterologist. I mean, they have been great, but for me, I go to him first always. And if there is like a severe emergency where conventional medicine, I think, is really a godsend,
there's a role for both.
Exactly. Then, yeah, my gastroenterologist, he is phenomenal. I mean, I even have this personal cell phone, and he's like, you call me whenever. So, but when I saw this naturopathic doctor, yeah, I want to say I was in his office for about an hour and a half for my first visit. He just drilled me, and he did all these tests. He did muscle testing on me, and did like a full, I guess, body scan or whatever you want to say, and just assessed me, and then just proceeded to educate me. And I was there for an hour and a half, and he told me about how important diet is, and that I needed to stay away from dairy, grains, and processed sugars, like off the bat. And then he told me about just how the body wants to heal. It's just a matter of giving it the necessary tools. And that, I was tested positive I had parasites in my intestine. I was tested positive for Epstein-Barr virus, which he found it mostly in my colon. Surprise, surprise, which is where all my Crohn's is located. I had yeast overgrowth. I had bacteria overgrowth. I mean, I was a disaster. And so, yeah, he put me on this entire protocol, where he gave me supplements to kill off all the pathogens that were in me. He gave me a homeopathic, like drops that I would put under my tongue, which was to help put the Epstein-Barr virus into dormancy, because as we all know, you can't get rid of viruses, but there is a way to shut them off so that they aren't wreaking havoc on your body. And so I was put on that. I was put on, I mean, I left there with a bag full of supplements and directions and what to eat, what not to eat.
Was it overwhelming, or did you feel freed?
No, for the first time in my Crohn's journey, I was hopeful. I left there and I was like, I'm going to get better. And I just knew it in my gut. And I did. I was, in, I would say, 3 months of following his protocol, I healed. I was like, I had no pain. I had no bleeding. I put on like a good 20 pounds, and I was feeling strong again. I was feeling like myself again.
Wow.
And then, yeah, it changed everything.
And then what happened? Because you mentioned you went medication free. Is that when you decided to go medication free, when you were feeling so good? And then what happened to
Yeah,
take you through
well,
that?
um during my various, because obviously I would do follow, he wanted to see me every like 2 weeks and every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks. So I was constantly following up with him. And every time he would educate me about different things. And then I remember one time I brought up being on the biologic that I was on. And at the time, I want to say that, yeah, it was Humira when I saw him. And he said, well, and again, I don't want to put words in his mouth because this was a couple years ago. So I don't remember exactly what he said, but he did educate me on how strong the drug was and how, I don't want to say dangerous, but it's, you don't want to be
There's risks.
on a biologic. Yeah, there's a lot of risks. And he never told me to, stop it, but he did educate me on the risks, which I wasn't really very educated on when I was first put on these things. And when I got better, I was like, you know what? I don't want to be on these biologics anymore. So let me stop. And I did, and I was fine. And what happened was where I messed up, and the fault is definitely on me, is I got better. I got off all medications. I was thriving. And I got excited. I was like, yay, I'm back. I can start having my pizza and my bread and eat my dairy and live the life that I used to live. And I think that's where I struggled the most, is that when you heal your body naturally, you have to change your lifestyle indefinitely.
Yeah.
And I was not ready for that. I wanted to go back to the old me. And in my head, feeling better and being quote unquote symptom free or cured meant I could be the old Elizabeth and fall into the habits that I used to, which was I can eat wherever I wanted. I can have whatever pizza or milkshake on the fly, and I can go here and I could go there. And in terms of my diet, I had zero restrictions. And the reality that hit me very hard, and I learned the very hard way, was that simply was not the case. My body was healing, but I don't think I gave enough time for it to fully heal. And I did not change my lifestyle. Healing means changing your lifestyle, and I did not do that. So I got better very quickly. My body bounced back. I mean, it was insane. I mean, my parents couldn't even believe it. They were like, oh my God. They're like, are you sure you're okay? You're okay? And I'm like, yeah, I feel great. Oh my gosh. And I was going here and I was going there. And then that's where I stumbled back into this horrific flare, because I started eating these foods that were causing me to be inflamed and that were inviting all these pathogens back into my body. I was eating lots of bread and I had just gotten rid of yeast overgrowth, and here I am having bread which has what in it? Yeast.
Yeah.
So I was inviting all these things back into my body, and in a way I almost feel like my body was like freaking out, because it was like, no, not again. And I fell into my worst flare ever. That was in just this past year, 2018. I weighed 82 pounds. I'm 5'6".
Wow.
Yeah. I looked like a Holocaust survivor. I was emaciated. I was depressed. I was like really mentally starting to lose it, because I couldn't believe that I was back at this place again. It was horrific. I was anemic. I was iron deficient. It just spiraled out of control, and I was desperate. I went to the emergency room. My CRP levels were 100 and something.
Wow.
And normal levels for CRP, at least with the test that they did, was 8 and under, and I was at 100 something. So I was for the first time, I can honestly say I was scared for my life. I'm not even kidding, because I felt so frail and so like there were points, I mean, at 82, 84 pounds, like I felt my heart like struggling. It was the most insane. And here I am, 28 years old. And I could not believe that this was my situation. It was insanity.
Did they hospitalize you at that point when you'd gone into the ER and start you back on
oh my God.
the medications?
Yes. Yes. I had to be brought in with a wheelchair because I could not walk. I mean, I had toothpicks for legs.
Yeah.
It was truly insane. Immediately they brought me in, they put me on an IV. They ran all the tests. I had an emergency colonoscopy the following day. And, they immediately put me on IV steroids. And then my gastroenterologist came in, and it was a little frustrating because he was kind of like, ha ha ha, like this is what happens when you get off of medication.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like, no, that's not what happened. It's actually, I wasn't educated about the diet and the lifestyle change. And that's where I messed up. But I was off of medication and thriving. So it was a little bit like a moment where I felt like I failed. So it was just mentally very difficult to deal with. And on top of that, just my age too. I'm 28 years old.
Yeah.
I was just tired of being sick, and this was like my worst flare yet. And I had seen the light, and then here I am. And so it was very difficult. And then I was put on Stelara, since all the other biologics failed, which I really didn't want to. But honestly, at that point, I was so tired. Yeah. And I was just sick of fighting. I didn't have any energy. I was over it. And I was put in Stelara. And I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. And they actually kicked me out. I did not want to leave because I was on Dilaudid, which is a IV pain. It's like an opioid. It's very akin to morphine.
Yes.
Because my abdominal pain was so intense and I'm not a crier. And as we all Crohn warriors are, we do very well with pain because we're so used to it. But for the first time, I couldn't handle it. I would feel it come on, and then my anxiety would come up because I knew what was coming, and it was just this ball of just, it was terrible. Just even thinking about it gives me the chills. And I literally would cry out for the nurse, please give me something because I cannot deal with this pain right now. And so I'm a little embarrassed to say, but I was like high on this Dilaudid drug 24/7 because I could not deal with it. And I didn't want to leave the hospital because I was like, if I leave here, I have to deal with the pain. And I was so filled with anxiety about going home because I was like, I don't have an IV when I go home, I'm going to have to start fighting again and dealing with this again. And it was terrible, but honestly, they kicked me out. They're like, they're like, we can't do anything for you. You're just here getting
medication
and just sitting here, and you're not getting better, and you need to go home. And you know, and honestly, I was so upset, and I honestly cried when I was told to leave. But it was the best thing that ever happened because I wasn't getting better there. What it was, I had a little bit of peace in terms of not having to deal with the pain, but I had to deal with the pain at some point. And so it was funny because that was year 7. This was last year. So it had been 7 years at that point that I'd been dealing with Crohn's. And as they were discharging me, I forget what kind of doctor came in. I think it was like a psychologist. And yeah, it had to have been. And she's like, you look very anxious. And I looked at her and I
am.
Like, yeah, like, you don't understand the pain that I'm going to have to face in a couple of hours when I get home. And she said, she's like, would you like some Valium? And I was like, I remember being so like shocked at how like number one, how easily she was just like, hey, you want to take some Valium
Yeah.
home? And then number two, like she didn't even ask me. I don't know. I mean, I had never taken Valium in my life. And at that point, and I remember looking at my parents like what? She's crazy. And my parents were like, they're like, just take it. They're like, you need something. And I was like, okay. I'm like, yeah, I guess. And so she gave me Valium and she was like, take this much. And I laugh at it now, but I got home, and they had given me a dose of Dilaudid right before I left so that I had some in my system. And then I remember a couple hours had gone by and then boom, the pain started to come. And I remember just crying and being like, looking at my parents and being like, I don't know like, I can't, like, what do I do? What do I do? And they go, look, they're like, well, you know how your parents, they just want you out of pain and they want you feeling better. So they were like, what about the Valium? Let's try the Valium. And I was like, no, that's not going to do anything. Well, sure enough, I took the Valium and that was the only thing, besides prednisone. Well, not even prednisone. I had pain with that. That was the only thing that actually took away the pain.
Wow.
It's kind of weird. Valium is more an anxiety, but again, the mind gut connection, I don't know what it is, but that was the only thing that I was able to take at home that gave me relief from the pain. And thankfully, I got better quickly because I went back to the protocol from my naturopathic doctor. I saw him right when I got discharged from the ER. I saw him, I believe, 2 days later. And I followed his protocol. I would only take the Valium as needed. And within, I want to say 2 weeks, I didn't have to take any pain medication.
Wow. It's amazing.
Yeah. So, and now, I'm still on Stelara. I do that every 4 weeks. But I stay away from dairy, grains, and processed sugars. And I have gained, let's see, well, I was 82, 83. Now I'm at 123.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And still climbing. Yeah. And I'm thriving. I'm healthy. Well, I'm not 100% symptom free yet. I still have mucus every now and then. I definitely don't have any abdominal pain. My energy is almost at 100%. And I just really feel like myself. Thank God. And so yeah, I'm pairing, I am on a biologic, but I'm very much, I eat organic. Again, like I mentioned, dairy, grains, processed sugars are out of my diet. Every now and then, I'm not gonna lie, I'm human.
Yeah.
If I go out to eat and there's a piece of bread, I'll take a bite. But if I have a whole slice, forget it. I don't even mess with that.
Well, and I find it so hard when you do go out with friends or with family and other people to watch people, and it's like, how can you eat that without being in pain? Why is this not?
I know,
why can't I do
so
that?
Annoying. I get so mad because I'm a foodie. I love food.
I do too.
I was never that girl growing up where I was counting calories and this and that. No. I love food. I love socializing. So it's hard. But now I think for me, and some people, I guess, have more discipline, but for me, after, I guess it took the 7+ years of just dealing with and everything that I've gone through, that now I can truly say I'm at the point where I don't care for it.
Yeah.
I really, my view on food has completely changed, and it has to change because of my health and everything I've been through. And so yeah, like I said, if I see like a really delicious piece of bread on the table, I will have a bite, but I know that bite is not going to cause me harm.
Yeah.
I know my limit. I can get away with a bite, or even a bite of a slice of pizza. Like if I have a friend that gets a pizza and we're eating together, and I want to try a bite, I know the bite's not going to hurt me. If I have a slice, pushing it, 2 slices, forget it. I will be in a flare. So I think it's just a matter of, as we all know, trial and error, and it's horrific because everyone's different. Everyone has different trigger foods. Mine are definitely dairy, grains, and processed sugar.
The common
and
ones,
especially
for a lot of people.
Yeah. And, so it's just a matter of finding your trigger foods, knowing what not to eat, knowing your limits. But I also believe too, like, if you can have the bite of the bread, then take the bite, because
life is short. Yep.
But again, just know your limits. And I really do at this point know mine. And, so yeah, you just, unfortunately, well, I don't want to say unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's just the reality,
way it is.
Well, and it's the way it is.
And honestly, I think that's part of what makes it so hard for doctors, to be honest, is how can they recommend one way of eating when everyone is so different that in a way it kind of puts them in a tough spot with making recommendations.
It's very tough, for sure. Yeah. And I can see how tough it is. Like, for example, I hear so many good things on the SCD diet. And I've tried it and it's great. But for example, in that diet, you can't do potatoes or complex starches. And for me, potatoes are fine. And that is so important for me because I'm trying to put on weight, and potatoes help with that. And it's a good source of, carbs. So I eat potatoes all day. But so again, it's just about trying and, trial and error, and you have to find just what works for you.
Well, and you've recently found a new food to add in. I've noticed on your blog, you've been talking a lot about celery juice. So I've been dying to ask about that. I'm real curious because I've seen more and more people posting about celery juice, and I've kind of been hearing about it. And then I saw that you were doing it. So what is it? What's it doing? And how's it been for you?
Oh my gosh, that has been an absolute game changer for me. Again, like I mentioned, I stay away from dairy, grains, and processed sugars. And that has always been, always helped me. My symptoms just practically go away. But I think, like so many can agree, it's like the healing process is difficult. And with Crohn's, it's like you have days where you're feeling better, and it's like you're going up the mountain and you're like, oh my God, I'm getting better. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, it's like you fall backwards.
Yeah.
And you could be on a diet and not eat a trigger food. And then for some reason, you fall back. You have these symptoms again, and it can be very frustrating. And that's kind of been my experience until I started the celery juice. So like I said, I would get better, like in the first time that I got better, but then, that was kind of my fault. I fell back on old habits, and then, that was why I started to flare. This time around, on Stelara and doing that diet that I mentioned, and I was getting better, but it was still, maybe I just didn't give it long enough, but about, I don't know, a month or two into it, I fell into reading about celery juice, and I fell onto, I think it was through Pinterest or Instagram, and I was reading about it, and at that point I was like, I've tried everything. Why not try the celery juice? And what is it going to do? It's juice. It's celery. Like, that's another thing that kind of throws me off. Like, people are so afraid of food for some reason. I don't know if it's like it's an American thing, but it's like, we'll pop pills and do all this crazy stuff and put me on biologics, but then it's like, celery, oh my God, is this going to hurt me? Like, oh my God, like, what are you
doing? It's a very good point.
Yeah. And so I read about the benefits, how it's one of the best anti-inflammatory foods out there. It starves unproductive yeast, bacteria, viruses. It helps heal intestinal lining, and literally, heal the lining of your gut. It has these mineral salts that are like so healing and so amazing for your body. And I was just reading all these things, and I was like, you know what? Let me try this. What on earth do I have to lose? It's not going to hurt me.
Yeah.
So, and I hate celery. Let me tell you, I do not like celery. I was never that girl that we, some people like the celery and like dip it in peanut butter.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, can't do it.
I would lick the
And,
peanut butter out and throw the celery away.
Yeah, or even just licking it
Yeah.
though, I still taste the celery, and I was like not into it. Like celery, honestly, was not my thing. And so, but I was so, I was so over again being sick that I was at the point where I would try anything. And so here I was. I bought a bunch of celery
Mm-hmm.
and I juiced it.
How do you make it? Do you just have to put it into a juicer and just juice it that way?
So, yes, ideally is you get a juicer, but I don't have a juicer, and I wasn't going to just go out and buy a juicer because I didn't even know if I was going to like this or if it was going to work. And juicers can be expensive. So, I just went on YouTube and found that you can still make the juice through a blender. So what you do is you take the bunch of celery, you wash it, chop it up, put the chopped pieces into the blender, blend it, and it becomes like kind of the smoothie, thick, consistency. Then you take a nut bag, or a cheesecloth. You pour the blended smoothie consistency stuff into there, and then you literally squeeze out the juice into a bowl. It takes all about, I don't know, 7 minutes to do in total.
And there's nothing else? No added little herbs or anything like that?
Just straight celery juice, because, I've just been following from a medical medium. Apparently, if you drink it straight like that, that's when it has the most effect.
Okay.
It's just straight celery juice. Don't add water, don't add cucumber, don't add any apples or any other fruit, just straight celery juice. And so I did it. And I remember he prescribed 16 ounces every morning, first thing when you wake up on an empty stomach, wait 15 to 30 minutes, and then, continue on with your day, have your breakfast. It's not meant to substitute your breakfast because it's not high in calories or anything. It's literally, you have to treat it. It's like taking medicine. So I did it. The first day I didn't make the full 16 ounces. I think I only made about a cup, like 8 ounces. And I remember I took a sip and I did the whole like plug my nose thing. And I took a sip and I was like, oh, this is, not bad. And then I remember taking a sip without plugging my nose, and it really wasn't bad at all. It's actually kind of refreshing. Oh. And I was pretty surprised with the taste. And so I remember I drank about half the cup, and immediately my stomach started to gurgle, and I was like, oh God. And then boom, I had to run to the bathroom. I even had abdominal cramping. I even had some blood, and I was like, oh God, I'm like, this isn't good. But I don't know why, and I can't tell you why, but something inside me was like, just keep doing it, keep doing it. So I was like, okay, whatever. And I'm also very stubborn. So I was like, this has to work. This has to work. This is natural. Like, come on. So next morning, did the same thing. I drank about like half a cup. And then boom, bathroom. And I was like, whatever. Okay, day 3. So day 3, I was like, let me do a little less. Let me start with like a little shot, a 2-ounce shot. And then let me just like work my way up. So I did the 2-ounce shot, and then it wasn't as bad as day 1 and day 2. I still had some gurgling, a little uncomfortable, but it wasn't so bad. And then long story short, my body got used to it. And then I would add a little bit more until eventually I worked my way up to the 16 ounces. That took like about 2 weeks. And it got to the point where I would drink it and it was like water to me. I wouldn't have any sort of gurgling. I wouldn't run to the bathroom, nothing. And then I stuck with it consistently. I mean, like religiously every morning, 16 ounces on an empty stomach, for 3 to 4 months. And it was mind blowing. I, for the first time, literally felt like I was getting better. It's hard to explain, but I just felt I just felt less bloated, less inflamed. I also have my Crohn's. was formerly diagnosed with Crohn's colitis.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really located in my colon and in my rectum. And for the first time, I felt like my inflammation in my rectum was disappearing. I mean, it was amazing. And the blood went away. The mucus was going away. My skin cleared up. My nails were so brittle.
Wow.
I normally always, before I was diagnosed, I always had really strong nails. And now my nails were growing back again, nice and strong. I noticed my hair wasn't falling out. I had lost so much hair when I was on the biologics and on prednisone, and my hair, every time I wash my hair in the shower, clumps would just fall. And listen, my hair wasn't falling out anymore. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this is great. And I just kept at it and I kept at it. I even went on a trip to Mexico when I started this. And I was so determined that I literally got in the car and went to a grocery store, bought myself celery juice, went back to the hotel and was like, do you guys have a juicer? And they were so kind. And they were like, yes, of course, we can do this for you. And they would do it for me every morning.
Oh, wow.
I would wake up and I would go to one of their little restaurants on the premise, and they would have my juice waiting for me. I mean, it was amazing. But yeah, I stuck with it. And I have to say, to kind of like test the waters, I had like a little bit of pizza and then I felt fine. And then I remember having like a full slice and I was like, oh God, this is going to be bad. And nothing happened.
Wow.
Like I had no repercussion.
And how long had you been doing the celery juice up until this point?
I want to say, I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months. And I started eating things that normally would, throw me on the floor, and it wouldn't happen. Like nothing would happen.
Wow.
And then a big thing was that I could not sleep on my right side. For more, I couldn't lay on my right side for more than 5 minutes without having to roll on my left side, because I had such acute inflammation and ulcerations in my left side of my colon that literally sleeping on my right side was painful. It would just be painful. I couldn't do it. So I've been sleeping on my left side or on my back or on my stomach every night for the past 7+ years because I just couldn't do it. After I started drinking the celery juice, I swear to you, in a month and a half, I was sleeping on my right side with zero pain.
And you're not doing anything else different, because you've done the medications before, you've done the naturopathic regimen before, and the only thing you're doing different now is really adding in this celery juice.
The celery juice. And that's why, and I wrote a post on my blog, which if anyone listening, you can follow me at thedancingcrohnie.com. I even wrote a post about it saying that literally this celery juice, it's changed my life, because I feel like it was the last puzzle piece to what I needed to do. Trying to heal from Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, or any form of inflammatory bowel disease is very complicated. There is never, ever a one thing that's going to get you better. I don't care what it is. I don't care if a doctor tells you, yeah, take this biologic, you will heal. No, even if you feel better, you're not really healing from it. I mean, at least that's my opinion.
There's more that you can do.
If you have to rely on a medication, you're not really healing. You're masking a symptom, which again, I'm
which
on
is good.
Them, so I'm not right. It's good. But I wanted more. I wanted to be, my goal is to be, I think all of our goals is to be medication free.
Yeah.
And so there's so many pieces to the puzzle. You have to take medication to get out of severe flares. You have to change your diet. You have to take stress out of your life. You have to, it's mental, physical, and emotional. There's so many things that you have to focus on. And for me, the celery juice was the last little piece.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. You hit, the nail on the head. You said that very well, and it's awesome. I think I'm going to try some celery juice now.
You should honestly try.
I think
you have nothing.
I'm going to.
Just try it. And yeah, I'm usually not into like these fad things. But I don't know. I just tried it because I was like, what do I have to lose? And I'm so happy I did, because I did it this morning. I do it every morning. I make my celery juice. It's like my routine. I chop up the celery and put it in a Tupperware. And I have them, ready to go. That's one thing too. It's suggested to always make it fresh. So I have it chopped up, ready to go. I wake up. It literally takes 5 minutes. You just pour it into a blender. You blend it, which takes, I don't know, a minute. And then you pour it into your nut milk bag, and you just squeeze out the juice. And that's it. You're done. It's very quick. It's very easy. And the benefits are literally amazing. And you can just go online and Google it, or go to medicalmedium.com, and he has all the information about celery juice on there. And I really suggest you should try it. I mean, I'm all about sharing what works. It may not work for you as well as it did for me, but when something works for you, you just want to like scream it on the top of the rooftop, right?
It's true.
Because it's like, what it's like to live in this horrible, pain, and the urgency, and even the depression, the mental aspect of it. And so anything that helps, just share.
Yeah.
And so I always share about the celery juice, because it's been literally a game changer for me.
Well,
and
now that you're feeling so well, I was going to ask, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was just thinking, are you dancing again now that you're feeling so much better and your energy's coming back?
Yeah. So like I mentioned before, the last time I danced professionally was in 2014. And I have been really struggling with my health. I mean, there is no way that I could even, I don't know, kick my leg. I mean, that was just out of the picture. I was so sick. It was hard for me to just walk to the bathroom. So, so I hadn't danced. So it's been, 5 years? And now 2019, just recently, we're talking like the last month or two, is when I've started to train again. And I actually have an audition coming up in May that I'm so excited about. I'm just so eager to get back into it. And I feel great. My body is bouncing back. I'm putting on muscle, my flexibility. Again, I mean, I've been dancing my whole life. So it's kind of like riding a bike. Once I get back into it, I get back into it. But I'm really, I've shocked myself at how quickly I'm bouncing back into being able to do what I used to do, which was dance. And yeah, so now I'm finally getting back into it, and hopefully the audition goes well, and I'll be dancing professionally again.
Oh, that is wonderful.
Yeah. It's nice because we all take hits, right?
Yes.
My big hit was, I couldn't dance anymore.
That was a big hit.
That was it was very difficult. It was my way of life. It was my career. It was everything I worked for. So when that gets taken away from you, it's difficult to deal with mentally and emotionally. And we all take those hits. So many that have IBD have to stop working. They have to stop doing what they love, whether it's, I don't know, swimming or taekwondo or painting. All these things take energy. And when you're sick, you don't have energy. So it's hard, but you have to stay positive, always remain hopeful. That is one thing that I will say. I never lost hope. I did have moments where I was, severely depressed. I do see a psychologist for the trauma, honestly, from the Crohn's and everything I've been through. So, I think anyone would lie and say that they're not dealing with depression. It's very depressing to be sick.
Yes.
But you have to remain hopeful, and you have to always stay positive. And in those moments when you're feeling down, just in your gut and down deep down in there, just don't lose hope, because the moment you lose hope, that's when everything will crumble. And that is one thing I will say, that I did not lose hope. And I think that's why I was able to get where I am today, even after so many years of struggling. I can proudly say that I'm really seeing the light, and I'm finally back to where I used to be.
That's awesome. Do you think that all that hope you had, is that part of what sparked you to start blogging about your experiences and sharing your story? Because that's all fairly new, correct?
Yeah, I just started the blog in August 2018. Yes, absolutely. I was in a place where, again, I'm just naturally very stubborn and I guess naturally a positive person. And I was like, I am not going to let this disease win. Okay, I was diagnosed with it, but I'm going to make this worth all the pain and all the struggle. I'm going to turn this bad diagnosis into good. And I just was like, you know what? I'm at a place where I am doing well. I've had so many years of experience with IBD and I need to give back. If I could just help one person, then it's all worth it. And I know so many people say that and it could be a little cliche, but truly when you live it and all you want to do is just help somebody not go through what you go through, it really is worth it. And that's why I started the blog. I give tips in there. I give just posts of encouragement. I just want to give back and just help people who are newly diagnosed or have been dealing with IBD for many years. I just want to give them a place where they can find information, find hope, find tips. My most recent posts that I just wrote were 5 effortless ways to go grocery shopping during a flare, because I know what it's like to be in a flare. And then, for me, when I was living in New York, I didn't have family up there with me. And I just lived with a roommate who worked full time. And I needed to get some food. And it was kind of before Instacart and everything was starting to happen. And it was like I had to get my butt to the grocery store or I wouldn't have food. And it was horrific because I was in a flare. I had zero energy. So I write about tips on how to make that process go as quickly and efficiently as possible, because you want to get in and you want to get out. And so just things like that. I just want to help people, go through this as painless as possible, I guess, because it's a really hard disease. It's a really, really hard journey. And I learned so much. And going back, I wish I would have known what I know now. So I just want to pay it forward.
Well, and you have a lot of great content, a lot of great advice and tips and tricks on your blog. It's a wonderful place. So remind people, tell us where they can go to find your blog and where else you're at online, social media, all those places.
Yes. So if you're interested, just go to www.thedancingcrohnie.com. That's my blog. You can find tips, posts of encouragement, lots of other fun things. Don't forget to subscribe, because if you subscribe, I send you a really awesome welcome email series where I even give some free products, or not products, but little gifts, I guess I like to call them. And then you'll be part of a newsletter that I send once a month. So just make sure to subscribe so we can keep in touch. And of course, if you subscribe, that way we can communicate. If you ever just need someone to talk to or need some encouragement, I'm literally just a click away. You can email me at any time. And then you can also find me on Instagram at the Dancing Crohnie, as well as Pinterest, the Dancing Crohnie. And yeah, I love connecting with people. I love listening from you. I love helping people. So make sure you check it out and subscribe, and we can communicate and help each other out.
Fantastic. I'm going to put all of that in the show notes so that people can easily click and find you and get all of that. So
Awesome. Thanks.
I do have one final question for you. Is there anything that you wish people knew about Crohn's and colitis, but they don't?
Diet. I wish that from day one, I was educated on how important diet is with this illness. Again, I'm not a medical professional. I'm just a Crohn's warrior. But please, please, please just know that food is so important. There are foods out there that are inflammatory, such as sugar, bread, pasta, dairy. They are inflammatory. It's a fact. So we're suffering from an inflammatory bowel disease. So you don't want to put any food into your system that is going to cause inflammation in your gut, because that is precisely what we're suffering from. So stay away from dairy, grains, and processed sugar. If I would have known that from the beginning, I really feel like my journey would have been cut, I would say, by 3/4. I think it would not have taken me 7+ years to be where I'm at today if I just would have been educated about my diet.
Well, and I think the other thing to add to that too is to be educated about diet, but also be willing to go through the trial and error period that everyone will face, because we are all so different that unfortunately, people ask me what to eat or where to start. And it's like, unfortunately, you're going to have to try, obviously cut out the big things. Like you said, cut out those known inflammatory foods, and then be willing to try foods and figure out what works and what doesn't work.
Yes, for sure. And you bring up a very valid point, because there are people that I have met with IBD that say, dairy doesn't bother them. And, and it's like, if it doesn't bother you, then go for it. Have at it. So yes, I'm glad you brought that up. Again, I guess I'm just speaking from personal experience.
Oh yeah, you said it great. I mean, it was perfect advice.
Yeah. But I guess, just in general. And then another big thing is be your own advocate, do your own research, which is so strange to say, because again, you go to a medical professional and you trust them, whatever they say. But unfortunately, again, don't become a what's that word? Hypochondriac? There we go. Where you're like Googling and it's like, oh my God, I might have cancer and this and that. I'm not asking you to do that, but I am asking you go to known sources and really do research and really double and triple check. Because I did not do any of that. It took me 4 years to get to that point, and I got to that point out of frustration because I wasn't getting better. So I guess from the beginning, I wish I would have known about diet, and I wish I would have educated myself and done research, read books, and really informed myself on exactly what Crohn's is, rather than just relying on what was told.
That is great advice. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story today, Elizabeth, and coming on the podcast and helping to inspire and motivate others with IBD. Thank you.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Crohn's Fitness Food Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have an IBD story, either as a patient or a family member that you'd like to share as a guest on this podcast, or if you have a topic you'd like to hear about, send me an email at crohnsfitnessfood@gmail.com. If you'd like to learn more about me and my Crohn's journey, follow me on Instagram using @crohnsfitnessfood, or visit my blog for in-depth articles about my struggles and victories with Crohn's through diet, fitness, and lifestyle at www.crohnsfitnessfood.com. And finally, remember, be strong, be grateful, and be the warrior that you are.